Thing.
Probably. They didn't hear you. Y'all didn't have the mic on. Do you have your mic on?
Yeah, test, 1, 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I put it on.
Wait, George. So he's about to die. Both of them about to die.
That's why I cut off.
No.
I had it on.
Okay.
Too late now, though.
So he probably gonna have to just.
What you want me to do?
What we have to do is, if it cuts off, just unplug this
Okay.
and just talk.
Just talk. Do I need to start over? Okay.
Man, cut back off.
Okay. Good morning again. We're gonna wrap this. We're gonna start back over. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna start back over. David danced before the ark, and by the end of the lesson, we will explore David's joy, Michelle's contempt for him, appreciate the many ways to celebrate God's presence,
These on the chart.
plan celebrations that honor God through praise and worship. Okay? We're gonna read the in focus, and then we're gonna talk about that real quick, and we're gonna move on. It says, Pastor Michael heard some people in the church complaining about the new musicians who wanted to change the service to a more contemporary style. However, he had realized how upset people had become until an after-church meeting got out of control. A discussion on music became more and more heated as people from two factions argue with each other. Now we're going to have a dialogue between these people about the music in the church. What are the people doing to our church music? We want to do something more relevant to people today. Is that a problem? I've been playing the organ for 25 years. You can't just walk in and change it. If we want our church to grow, we have to play new music. We can't keep doing what we always done. I can't stand these new songs with all these repetition courses. Have you ever read Psalm 136? Horrified, Pastor Michael stood up and dismissed the meeting. Afterward, he escaped into his study with tears. Lord, what have I been doing wrong, he prayed. Why is there such division in my own church? What have we all been missing? He continued to pray frantically until he took calmly breaths and truly focused himself on God. He knew from personal experience when he started by looking at God, everything became clear. And what I said was that we can really get selfish when it comes to worship in church. We forget about glorifying God and think about self, think about our plan. We want the recognition. And sometimes we got to keep our focus on God, bringing people to Christ. It's not all about us, it's about God. Now we're going to look at our verses. David danced before God. And I just want to know that sometimes before we get into this, we have great intentions of doing something in the church. However, we need to consult God in our plan. And just remember, somebody always not going to like your plans. When you focus on God, you got everything centered around God, and you prayed about it, God give you to go ahead. Somebody out there is not going to like it at all. Amen. And number 3, we all have different styles of worship, wherever they may be, waving your hands, saying amen, shout, dance, patting your feet, closing your eyes, meditating. We all have different styles of worship. Now, we're going to talk about David moving this ark. Now, the history of the ark is during the wilderness, while the children of Israel was doing the wilderness, the ark was kept in a tabernacle. Wherever the camp moved, the ark went there. But once it was established in the promised land, the ark was kept in Bethel. During Samuel's time as a judge, the Philistine captured the ark in battle. However, God sent signs and sicknesses. The Philistine was able to carry that ark. Just remember that they were able to carry it, but they had signs and sicknesses. According to the scriptures, 70 men tried to look inside the ark. That was struck down. Okay, so the ark was moved to Kerajim, and it lasted there for 20 years. Now we're going to look at verses 1 through 5, and it says 2 Samuel 6, 1 through 5. I'm going to read the whole entire chapter just so you can get a emphasis what's going on, okay? Then David again gathered all the elite troops in Israel, 30,000 in all. He led them to Baalah of Judah to bring back the ark of God, which bears the name of the Lord of heaven, Lord of heaven armies, which is enthroned between the cherubim. Then they placed the ark of God on a new cart and brought it from Abinadab's house, which was on a hill. Uzziah and Ahio, Abinadab's son, was guiding the cart that carried the ark of God. Ahio walked in front of the ark. David and all the people of Israel celebrating before the Lord, singing songs, playing all kinds of musical instruments, lyric, harps, tambourine, castanets, and cymbals. Now, as we said, David, in verse 1, gathered all 30,000 men for this ark, all his troops. He didn't want no problems, y'all. He just gathered together, come on, we're going to get this ark. Going to get this ark. Now, let me tell you this. God has specific instructions for moving this ark. The ark was constructed with rings of 4 corners and poles were put through those rings. The poles were supposed to be carried on the Levite's shoulders. Now, David was doing the right, had intention to do it, but he was doing it the wrong way. He had good intention, but he was following the wrong instructions. When you got specific instructions to do something, you got to follow those instructions. It's like putting up a cabinet or something like that. You know, me and sometimes, I just thought about this. Me and sometimes we get instructions to follow, putting a cabinet together or a bookshelf. Well, we got this. We don't need no instructions. Right. Well, that thing we screwed up all kind of way, man. Right. What that page say? Right. Sometimes we just like looking at the pictures.
Right. Something else that reminds me of also sometimes with weddings.
Yes.
Sometimes we get the wedding all planned up and everything, but we forget about the relationship between the people. Right. You know, my daddy used to say all the time, "Boy, you putting the cart before the horse." You know.
Right. Now, if you go to verse 5, David and all the people of Israel celebrated before the Lord, singing, song, playing all kinds of instruments, and they were having a good time. But then, you know, I said it was a premature celebration. And I was wondering, when I was reading this, studying this, I'm like, was God in that plan? Because something happened from verse 6 to 13. That's why I want to read it. Was God in that plan? Because, you know, sometimes we can get up there and just praise God and everything and be in the worship. And, do we feel like it's a true worship? Is that a true worship? Because, you know, things happen. Yeah. Well, here we go in verse 6 to 13. I'm going to read this real quick. But when they arrived at the threshing floor of Nacon, the oxen stumbled. Remember they had this on a cart now. Right.
A brand new car.
A brand new car.
Yeah.
Like a brand new car. Yeah.
Polished, detailed, looking good.
Right. Uzziah reached out his hand and studied the ark of God. The Lord's anger arose against Uzziah, and God struck him dead because of this. And Uzziah died right there beside the ark of God. Now, see, they were celebrating, having a good time. All of a sudden, Uzziah trying to help out, reach out. All he was trying to do was just help it.
Yeah.
That's all he was trying to do. But then
he didn't mean no harm.
It didn't mean no harm about it. Because they were carrying it the wrong way. Didn't follow instructions. Uzziah died. What David do? David got mad. He got angry. Verse 8. David got mad because of the Lord's anger. David was angry because of the Lord's anger had burst out against him. Okay? Then in verse 9, David was not afraid of the Lord. He asked, how can I bring the ark of the Lord back into my care? So David decided to move the ark of the Lord into the city of David. David decided not to move the ark of the Lord into the city of David. Instead, he took it to Obed-Edom of Gath. The ark remained there in his house for 3 months. while the ark was there,
Obed-Edom was blessed.
Obed got blessed, man.
Yeah. Ooh wee, another blessing.
He got blessed.
Yeah.
Okay. He got blessed. He got blessed while the ark was there. And David found out about this. He was like, man, I gotta get this ark back. I gotta get this ark back. So we're gonna pick up at verse 14. And David danced before the Lord with all his might, with a priestly garment. Okay, one thing there. David danced with all his might. All his might. I had to look that thing up. All his might. Boy, David danced all his might. He used all his energy, everything he had. He danced. He danced out of his priestly robe. Now, he was dressed in a priestly robe. I had to look that up too. He was dressed nicely.
Yeah.
But he danced out of that. He just danced all his might, all his energy.
So you saying David gave his all?
He gave his all. He was like, is it all his, I'm gonna put it this way. He danced with all his strength and energy. I looked it up. I'm like, dude, this dude tired.
So the thing is, how many times do we give our all today?
That's right.
You know, if David gave all his strength, his energy, his might, how often do we do that when we are called to do something for God today?
We don't. We don't give our all. We do a half step sometimes. We might do 85% and say that's good and stop right there, or 90%, that's good right there. So David and all the people of Israel brought the ark of the Lord with shouts, joy, and blowing the horns round. Okay, they back on celebrating this time. They were doing good. They celebrating of the Lord. Now, David wore a special ritual garment. He was girded with a linen ephod, a piece of clothing reserved for Israel's side for priests and Levite. Now, David took a priestly function exercise for this particular occasion. David's action was accompanied by shouting, dancing before the Lord. In the background, there was sounds of trumpets. Okay?
Can I say something right here? What David did? David was king, right?
Right.
But today, David sort of didn't dress like a king.
He didn't dress like a king. He dressed like a priest.
Yes.
He
came to worship.
He came to worship.
Yes.
That's a good thought. David came and prepared himself for worship. He didn't dress like a king. He was prepared to worship. Now, here's another thing though. David, I'm gonna get my head of myself. He took a few little steps. He took 6 steps. He saw everything was good. He started praising God. He got it right this time. He started following those instructions.
Amen.
You know. All right. Now, verse 16, I want to do it with verse 19 through 20. Because sometimes, you know, we can have a good time at church. The Lord be with us. And a wonderful time. Worship experience was great, Brother Rico. All excited, you know, feel the presence of the Lord. But then as soon as you get out to church or in the parking lot at home, driving your car, a 360 hit us.
Life come at you.
Yeah. Somebody make you mad. You can go home and confront somebody that didn't go to church.
So my question is, are you still giving the same effort that you was giving in the worship service? You said David gave his all.
Right.
All his might, all his energy. But that is not for a church setting.
Right.
That's what you have to apply every day.
Right. You got
to get through the day.
Get through the day. You got to be the same like you were at church, like you were at home. But we, sometimes humans, we leave all that there, or do we carry it with us?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that we got to understand, though. If it's our flesh that's doing it, we're going to fail anyway.
Right.
All of our worship, all of our doing is going to have to be led by the Spirit anyway.
Right. That goes back to verse 5. that was the flesh that David had.
Yeah.
He was premature celebration
Yeah.
because you notice when Uzziah died,
Yeah.
when God struck him down, Uzziah got mad.
Uh,
Not
David,
Uzziah, David got mad.
Right.
Anger with the Lord.
Yeah.
He was like, how can I get this back? Then when he found out that Obadiah was getting blessed, he was like, I gotta get this back.
Right.
I gotta get this back.
Right. And you know, to sort of roll it back a little bit, sometimes we use the Lord like a magical thing.
Yes.
And that's what happened with the ark. When the Philistines got it, they just, hey, we got their God. And they went and you set it up with their God, you know, Dagon.
Yeah.
You know, but God is not a magic box.
Right.
You know.
I'm gonna put you on another point though. Tell you something else though. Notice when the Philistine carried the ark, they didn't have no problems. They didn't have no problem with carrying the ark. Why? They didn't have no instructions.
Right.
That was spiritual ignorance. But David, almost spiritual ignorance, he carried the ark, things happened. Only thing what happened to the Philistine was when they tried to look inside of it, 70 men was there, got struck. They was able to carry the ark because God did not give them the instructions. He gave it to the children of Israel. So David should have known better to follow instructions.
Right.
No.
But there's something else that happened also with the Philistines and Obed-Edom. The Philistines didn't get blessed.
Right.
Obed-Edom did.
Right.
You know, what's going on? Same, you know.
So it really tied to what instructions have you received from the Lord.
Right.
Then once you receive them instructions, you are to abide by
By
those
the
instructions. Philistine didn't have any instructions.
Right.
So they didn't have anything that could happen except when they look into the ark. But being Christian,
Right. We have instructions.
we have instruction.
Bible.
We have this Bible full
Right.
of instructions.
Right.
So since we're supposed to be knowledgeable of what God wants from us, then we're held accountable for what God wants for us.
Right. Right. That's our instructions. All right. I'm gonna look at 17 through 19 real quick. Then we'll go back to 16 and 20 if y'all don't mind.
Okay.
17. They brought the ark of the Lord and set it on the place inside the special tent David had prepared for it. And David sacrificed burnt offerings and peace offerings. Two things. Offerings right there now. Y'all see that? Burnt offerings and peace offerings unto the Lord. When he finished his sacrifice, David blessed the people in the name of the Lord of heavenly armies. Then he gave to Israelite man and woman in the crowd a loaf of bread, a cake dates, and a cake of raisin. Then all the people returned to their homes. Now we find here David blessed everybody in the camp. Everybody in this community there. He did a burnt offering and a peace offering. Now I caught that. I didn't really pay attention to it. A burnt offering is burning up the whole animal. A peace offering was just when they burned the fat off, and then there was some meat left over. That's what he gave the people. And then a loaf of bread and cake dates. In the New Testament, I had to look that up. It said, I think it said, let me see here. It said flagon of wine, but that translated, I just want to make sure, cake dates. Okay. Y'all have any questions about that or anything?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Shucks, I just see it as David caring about the people, having
Yes.
compassion on the people.
Right.
You, how can you love God and not love people?
Right.
You know.
And we can't run over the fact that he said they set the ark in its place. Back when they was going through the wilderness, the ark was always set up in the center of the camp.
Right.
So when they brought the ark back, it was set up in the center of the city. And thing is that everything evolved around the ark. Everything evolved around God.
Right.
When I researched in our early cities that we have, church was usually the first building that was built in the city. And everything started building up around the church.
Yes.
All right. But the more that we came more disconnected with the church, what churches are now? Most of them on the outside
Side of the city.
of the city.
Hmm. And if you look, and I'm glad you brought that up, you can see churches inside the city of Tupelo just around it. But then you, like you said, you got a lot of churches outside the
The
city.
more we came,
The more we like church by itself. They go to church and go out in the rural communities. They go to church right here. Outside, no. Right. That's right. Now we're gonna look at verses 16 and I'm gonna look at 16 through 23. But the ark of the verses 16 is, but the ark of the Lord entered the city of David. Michal, or Michelle, the daughter of Saul, looked down from her window when she saw the king David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she was filled with contempt in her heart. In verse 20 it said, when David returned home to bless his own family, I just saw that, Rico, to bless his own family, Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet him. She said in disgust, how disgusting the king of Israel looked today, shameless, exposing himself to the servant's girl like any vulgar person might do. David restored it to Michal. I was dancing before the Lord, who chose me above your father and his family. He appointed me as leader of Israel, the people of the Lord. So I celebrate before the Lord. Yes, I am willing to look more foolish than this, even to be humiliated in my own eyes. But those servants, girls you mentioned will indeed think I am distinguished. So Michal, the daughter of Saul, remained childless throughout her entire life. And I researched Michal, no, the name was pronounced different. She was in love with David. David's first wife. I went back and looked. David was supposed to be married the Saul's oldest daughter. But Michal was in love with David. She was in love. I'm like, they love first sight. Oh, that's nice. But in verse 16, when David entered the city of David, Michal, the daughter of Saul, looked down from her window. Now, why come she didn't go to church? How come she didn't go to church? Why she was not out there celebrating with them? Instead, she was up in her window looking down on them, having a good time.
Yeah, let me ask another question. When David was consulting, getting all these people together, prior and everything, I wonder why he wasn't having a conversation with his wife.
Or did he have a conversation with his wife and she said, well, I ain't going?
Yeah, it could have.
Right.
You could have.
But they recognized her as the daughter of Saul. And I was reading so many different interpretations where maybe because they wanted to recognize who she was and she didn't have that title, that David was. Saul couldn't do what David did.
Right.
And that's why they recognized who she was.
Yeah.
But she looked down from a woman, she had contempt in her heart.
Yeah. Or maybe she just compared Saul to her father.
Yes.
I mean, comparing David to her father Saul.
Yeah.
Well, her father had did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of different things.
And if we look back further, it seemed like that the ark had no place during Saul's reign.
So actually, Saul had what's the word? He ignored the ark. Really, he didn't pay no attention to it. He gave less attention to it like David did.
Right.
So,
did he even have the ark? Because the ark got captured during Eli's reign as priest. Remember?
it wasn't.
I don't know. I had to go back.
I know it was in Kirijerim.
Shucks, it was out of whack for around.
It was
about 20 years.
Kirijerim for 20 years.
Yeah.
So so
Yeah.
Saul, I think he paid less attention to the ark than David did.
Yeah.
And for her, and maybe that's why she didn't attend, because she like, this like that. All this to a art, why?
You have to still go to the day. Some people will look at the way that you worship and say, do it take all of that?
Right.
Do it take all this, taking so many steps dancing, praising, picking up the ark, taking so many steps? Do you have to go through all of those things?
Mhm.
Where the other person would go in and say, hey, I'm thankful that I'm allowed just to do this. You know, they're willing to give reverence
To God.
to God
Right.
for the little things.
For the little thing. And so soon as they return, I know this is not in our verse, but as soon as they returned home to bless his own family, just to bless his own family, she met him at the door.
With contempt.
She was disgusted.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, the king, and she put the king, she didn't say my husband, she went, the king looked today. Shame exposing himself
Right.
to the servant girl. I guess he danced out of his clothes then.
Well,
She said, Martha, look.
What's happening, some people have preconceived ideas and expectations of how people in positions supposed to act.
right.
Mhm.
You said when he left the house, he wasn't dressed in kingly robe, he was
Right.
dressed like a priest.
Right.
So, hey, when he left the house, you gonna go out with that on?
And now you dance vulgarly in front of the servant girls. I'm like, and that's why I said sometimes when we our worship experience can take us to a higher level in church service, and we on, I ain't gonna say cloud now, but we just felt the presence of the Lord, and you mentioned, you know, do we carry with her? We should carry with her. Us being who, some people just, I guess, can rub us the wrong way or something. Like when soon you get home, your spouse who didn't go to church or don't go to church, it took you that long today to get to stay in church. You gonna put something on, or somebody pull out in front of you, or you can get in the car and your kid, Mom, Dad, did they take all that for real? You know, it just can cut you off. But you can reply like you said, hey, you don't know what God's done for me. I don't tell you everything. I'm gonna do it again next Sunday if I get a chance.
And one of the things they brought up on Wednesday when we were talking with the youth is that we need to be telling
Right.
the people who don't understand why do we do the things that we do. So they can try to get some understanding or how far he had brought us that caused us to do the things that we do.
And something else that we need to do while we're doing, we need to show them scripturally while we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just your opinion.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I love David's response to her. He said, I was dancing before the Lord, who chose me above your father and his family. And maybe she knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, because her father was king.
Yeah, her father was king.
He
And
just
she
took his
knew
father-
what
yeah.
her father was trying to do, kill David all along.
Yeah.
So, you know, he appointed me as leader of Israel, the people of the Lord, so I celebrate before the Lord. Yes, I am willing to look even more foolish than this, even to be humiliated in my own eyes. Will we look foolish for the Lord? Will we look foolish for the Lord? Get out there and do something like that? Look foolish for the Lord. Are you willing to look foolish for the Lord?
Well, it depends. If we are led by the Spirit, you see, because we can do a lot of things in the flesh, and then we can cut
That's
the
it.
attitude when it don't go over good.
That's it.
You know?
That goes back to verse 5. What David read then and there, led by the Lord.
Mhm.
When he did, I said it prematurely. When he did, he was praying, and they were moving the ark on a new car. It's like a new car, we call it. Got a new car, I'm just driving around. Nothing gonna happen to it. Was he led by the Spirit then? And like,
Evidently not.
not, because when Uzzah reached out to get that car, he had good intentions.
Yeah.
Had good intentions.
Good intention.
Good intentions. Doing the wrong way though.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, sometimes I'm picking on those Rico, Deacon Boy. We hard headed sometimes when we follow instructions. Am I right? Cause like I said earlier, we excited. We got a new grill. We got a new bookshelf, or we put together a new shelf for storage. We got the instructions right here. A bunch of instructions. Man, I can do this on my own. I don't need no instructions.
So you had good intention when you purchased it.
Yeah.
When you bought it.
I don't need
But-
instructions. And then like we want to look at the pictures, but once we put together this, it can look like this right here. Something wrong.
Yeah.
I would have all those pieces
Yeah.
left over.
Now, I heard this story is just like when we buy a car,
Right.
all right? We'll buy a brand new car and we'll drive it, but we won't never look at the owner's manual.
Right.
So then you turn around, you look at the owner's manual, and you'll find out that this car have automatic features that you've been doing manual.
We didn't even know
But
about it.
because you didn't read it, you were going through all of the extra steps
Okay.
without looking to see what it would do for you if you had followed the instructions.
Right.
God's word, the Bible. Hey, it have a lot of things that God is willing to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go out and we'll try to do things on our own without reading his instruction.
Right.
When God said, hey, come to me first. Follow what I tell you to do. And some things can work out a little more smoothly in your life.
Amen. But you know, here's where I see this lesson. If we are doing what we think we're supposed to be doing, and we're not getting the results that we want to get, it's time to hit reset and figure out
Reset.
what we're doing
What
wrong.
we're doing wrong. And
Yeah.
I was just sitting there thinking about that. I mean, like, did David knew the proper way to carry the ark?
Evidently not.
I mean, because he was so excited to get to move it. You know, when you go back up here, build this brand new car.
Yeah.
And somebody had to go tell him, look, brother, you're doing this the wrong way. This is the proper way to do it. He had to listen to somebody to follow the correct instruction to move the ark back to the city of Jerusalem. He had to
Had to do some research.
did research on how to move this ark.
Yeah.
Because he was just too excited. And two, I don't think it was his plan, but not God's plan. The way he moved this ark.
Yeah.
Because Uzziah wouldn't have not died if he knew better.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe the people that were trying to tell him how to do it in the first place, he didn't recognize the wisdom of those people.
All right. And what was his intention of going to get the ark the first time? He just seen somebody else get blessed.
Yeah.
Somebody else was getting blessed. Somebody else was prospering.
Right.
He said, well, let me go ahead and get this.
Just get this
Yeah.
ark.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, cause I want those same blessings. I want,
Yeah.
Y'all have any other questions or comments or anything?
I just like God because even though we make mistakes, His mercy endures forever.
And what I learned from this, what we do inside the church, what program type precision we want to do, we need to consult God first. We all do, like you said, we need to consult God first in everything we do in our life, because it can be our plan, but not God's plan. Like I always say, God, what is my purpose in life? What do you have planned for me today? I mean, just still act on it. Sometimes we have a bad habit of just acting on things, not consulting God about a new car, a new house, even a new suit, or whatever we do.
Yeah.
We don't consult God about it,
Right.
and we just hop on it, and we make a terrible mistake.
Right.
And that's my habit in the past, just jumping on something. It looked like a good idea, had good intentions, but it wasn't God's way.